Steve, I'm not. There's a little nasaliness, a little congestion going on today. Okay,
Late summer cold.
late summer cold, and I do want to be clear. Anna was like, Are you still gonna do the podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I'm still gonna do the podcast. I want to chat with my friend Steve. Okay,
You're roughing through it. That's great.
just to be with you, Steve. Not
It's
really.
not only
It
a
was more so
wonderful
for
latest.
our guest. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Never
No,
mind.
fine.
Who's our guest?
Our guest. Well, the name of this podcast, which I'm roughing through, as you just put it, is Stuff Summer Says with
Steve.
our guest is Audrey Snyder. We spend 30 minutes talking only about the Green Bay Packers, which is Audrey's number one most well-known topic. No, we chat about anything and everything that has been on our collective minds about Audrey this summer, I guess would be the best way to say that. Then you want to talk through some semantics, maybe, or tickets,
Yeah,
tickets semantics.
Ticket semantics. Yeah.
I guess would be the best way to say that. We are going to share our tailgating tips in a fun way, I think, if you will. And then we got old guy, young guy. So I'm ready. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Take a listen to our interview. We'll be back after this. Steve, we are joined by Stuff Summer Says royalty, I guess. Is that how we were describing her? Now that she's two-time.
I'll go with royalty. That's
Okay,
big.
yeah. She's the two-time defending fan favorite beat writer. I think is how we'll work on the plaque and all of that for you, Audrey. Don't worry. Anyways,
we could hang it up on the wall here. Got some space in the office.
Yeah,
I was trying to clear a spot before we hopped on. Yeah.
We sent Brian Tripp when he became the first member of the 3-time guest club. We sent Brian Tripp a beer koozie, so maybe we can see what we can do.
Well, you know what? I've got a beer sitting right here that I'm gonna open, and no koozie. So
Warm too, with no koozie. Exactly.
We can make something happen. Anyways, our guest today is the wonderful, always great to chat with her, Audrey Snyder. Audrey, how are you? What's new? Anything new? Anything interesting you want to discuss?
Yeah, there's a lot going on these days, isn't there?
Yeah.
So I am new to the Substack community, as I'm sure y'all are aware. So my job with The Athletic was eliminated in April. And so I had almost 4 months out of work, which sounds absolutely crazy when I put it that way, because it was like, it went really fast. I did not know what I was going to do. And there were some other opportunities. I was talking to other people, things that seemed promising, but as you all know, journalism in this day and age, there's a lot of curveballs in this industry. So Substack became the route that made the most sense for me. And I honestly did not land on that until about late July. I was trying to figure it out, and I spent the summer in grad school, which was the plan, whether I had a job or not. Like, that was the plan all along. But then trying to figure that out, I had, like, once July 1st hit, I had a massive moment of panic of like, oh my God, what am I going to do this football season? I need to figure it out. So insidethelions.substack.com is where I'm at. Fan response has been incredible. This crazy idea might actually work, right? And that's exciting to hear, and we're gonna see what happens.
Was there any doubt that you weren't going to cover Penn State football this year?
I wouldn't say doubt. I think it was more so like, in what capacity? Was it going to be full-time? Was it going to be part-time? Was it going to be as a stringer? Was I going to get what I would consider a real job? And that's still very much like a possibility, because as you kind of go through the whole thing, and my situation is interesting, and I don't know if a lot of people realize this about me, because I think rightfully so, they know me as Audrey, the sports writer, and that's kind of what I've done. But I'm actually a certified 7th through 12th grade English teacher. So there's always that avenue if I want to do it. I got my old job back as an adjunct at Penn State after a year away. So I'll be teaching again this fall, intro to news writing. And I love that side of it. And that is very much why I started going back to school last summer, was because I was like, I want to get a master's degree in something that's a little bit more broad, but also that could kind of open me up to some potential higher ed opportunities if I want to do that down the road. So I hoped I'd be, especially this season, like, you don't cover all of what you've covered and then get to this point. It's like, you don't have a job this year, right? So it's just about trying to find ways to make it work.
I was going to ask about that because I think that's an important part to this. I mean, I think a lot of people, myself included, I'm sure you've heard and I've read all of the replies to your tweets of, when the Athletic let you go, they were stunned and surprised that, like, not going to cover Penn State, and not that you guys ever root for a team, but you also want the team to be interesting in some shape or
For sure.
fashion. When it was like, was there a moment where you were like you can't not be a part of this? Was that kind of in your thought process throughout this whole time?
Yeah, I had so I got it's actually I can kind of laugh about it now because it's one of those when you're in this industry long enough, you're like I always just said to people, I was like, I always had this feeling that I'm gonna wake up one day and somebody's gonna tell me that like wherever I'm working, I don't work there anymore. Like that's just how it works in this industry. And so, sure enough, that happened in April. And I logged on for my performance review. Turns out it was not actually a performance review. HR was like on the line, and it was like, "Hey, it's your last day. We're no longer covering Penn State." Um, and that was a Friday, right? Which Friday news dump. So that was Friday, and by Saturday morning, I called Christian Capel, who is a what I would consider and what many would consider a Substack superstar. He is writing about Washington, covering the Huskies at on Montlake is the name of his Substack. He does an awesome job, and he was at the Athletic before and got let go. And it was going into the year, right, with Michael Penix, where we're all like, Washington's going to be great. Like, wow, it's going to be so great to read Capel's stuff this year. And then he got let go. And we're all just, I remember at the time, we're like, why would we not have a beat writer going into this year? And so my situation felt very similar to that, where I always said, like, I never felt like there's really job stability in this industry, but I always felt like this year with Penn State being good, like it really made sense. So I called Christian the next day and he was driving to a Huskies spring practice. And I was like, okay, I know you're doing well on Substack. How are you doing it? Like, what do you recommend? And he talked me through it. And honestly, it scared me to death. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. Like, this is too terrifying. I don't think this is for me. So I really put it on the back burner in April and was talking to some companies and it was just kind of like, okay, let's just let me get through the spring semester for grad school. Then I'm going to be taking 6 credits in the summer. Let me do that. And then, in your head, you try to like neatly figure it out and be like, oh yeah, like grad school, like it's going to start in late June. I'll have a job figured out by then. I'll start it in July. Yeah, it doesn't work like that at all. So yeah, the hope was to do this all along, but also I was not nearly bold enough to do that. And then after some things fell through with some other companies, I just kind of got pissed off enough to say, you know what, like this industry is not going to get any better. It is what it is. Like this is the perfect opportunity between hockey and football and wrestling and women's volleyball. Like they teed it up really nice for me because if ever it's going to work, I think it's the time to try it is now.
There were scary things you said, like lots of hurdles early on, and that you didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
address. So I mean, was it? I mean, I know the timetable changed. What did you conquer that you thought was going to be harder than it was, or what were you really worried about? And
Yeah.
you're like, oh God, there's this and this and this, and then
Oh
when the time
yeah.
came, you did it, and it was here you
Yeah,
are.
no, it was literally the calendar. Like once July hit, I was like, okay. And then around July 4th weekend, one of the companies that I was talking to that I'd been talking to since April, that was like, looked really promising. Like we're creating a position to bring you on. It got to the top level. And as things work in journalism, pretty often it's like, yeah, 2 levels below, love this idea, top level, shut it down. Right. So there I am, like July 4th weekend, like, okay, like we're losing time. Another company I've been talking to all along, this was about mid-July. They were ready to make me an offer, and then things changed on their end, with their company and people in their operation. And so it was like, okay, that is suddenly like not really an option anymore. So I had, gosh, it was right before Big Ten Media Days. I just kind of had this like moment of panic, and I was like, I either do this or I'm going to freelance for the season. Like these are my two options. And so I started crunching the numbers and it's like, all right, well, realistically, to make this work. And again, fortunately, like I'm at a spot in my life and my career where like I can give this a go. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, we can make this work and see what happens. Um, so then, the tech side of it is fascinating because I actually was ready to go on another platform and had everything lined up and spent probably 4 or 5 days getting a really cool looking site. I think I even probably DM'd Darian during this and I was like, yeah, I got something pretty cool coming. I'm excited about it. The night before I plan to launch, I'm like, there's the subscription page is like a massive problem. Like it's not clear. It needs to be redone. I would have had to hire a web developer and the web developers needed a month to get to it. And I was like, I don't have a month. So I migrated all the written work over to Substack and launched it a day later than I had intended. So that was kind of like the things that you learn doing it. But yeah, the biggest hurdle was myself, was just trying to like convince myself because people, they kept telling me like, oh, if you go independent, like we'll follow you. Like people have been telling me for years to do this. And I always was like, no, this is crazy. It's not, it doesn't make sense. But when it's the best option in front of you, you're like, all right, I just got to convince myself on it.
So what's the feeling like to see that people have, I mean, the numbers are, people have
Yeah.
followed you. People have found
Yeah.
you or followed you. What's that feeling like?
Insanely gratifying. I've always said like you get into this because you want to tell stories, right? And like I always have taken it very seriously that I am a conduit between fans and the team that they love, right? And I'm that link to many people to this program, which is an honor. And also sometimes, obviously we don't agree on everything, and you hear it, both ways. But one of the most interesting things throughout this whole thing was seeing that fans were willing to like follow me and that they genuinely cared because I was like, okay, at some point I'm like, I'm gonna have to acknowledge that like I'm not gonna be covering this team or like I don't have a job. Like I gotta put it out there. Um, Fittingly, the last story I filed at The Athletic was a hockey story because, it's like Frozen 4 runs going on. And that didn't even sink in until like a couple days after I was let go. I was like, oh, are they going to run the hockey story? Like, what happens? They did not run the hockey story. They said, hey, like, you can have this back. And so our good friends at the Center Daily Times, they ran the hockey story, which was very kind of them because I was like, here's a solid feature. Like, what do I do with this? Um, but the response to that story was really good. And the response to the, hey, I don't have a job anymore tweet was way more pleasant than I thought. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't know what people are gonna say. Um, One of the coolest interactions I've had during this whole experience was I was driving back, like I went home for a weekend and I'm at that Sheets, like when you're coming through Harrisburg, like where the Abdul Carter billboard is, right? And I stop there, I go in, and this gentleman comes up to me and he's like, are you Audrey? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, I love your work. I'm so sorry what happened at the Athletic. I canceled. And let me know wherever you end up because, like, me and my buddies, the whole group chat, we want to know what you're going to do. And at that moment, like, I'm like, okay, maybe this thing might actually work, you know? So yeah, the fan response was awesome. And the fact that people are following along. I mean, I think, and you all know this, like people care about this program, and especially right now, you want to find ways to creatively cover this program, and that's what I intend to continue doing. But it's like the fact that people like your work and are willing to pay for it, and like I understand too, like you guys have been all over the coverage of Roar Plus, and the cost of being a fan right now. It's a lot. Like it is not easy to ask people for money with everything else that's going on. So the fact that so many people have joined me, just truly, truly means the world.
What
Cool. Thanks.
what's something you're going to do that you weren't able to do before with this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it just comes down to following my gut more on stories and things that I really want to do. Um, I had a lot of leeway at the Athletic, but there are still times where there were things that like I wanted to do or that I had started reporting on, and it was like, hey, yeah, we don't need that or we don't want that. Um, I think of myself, and again, this is not a slight at the athletic at all. I think it's just the byproduct of you have an athletic audience and you have a New York Times audience. I don't know if those things are necessarily the same in terms of like I think my coverage is best suited toward the Penn State fan that cares day to day about this team, not the fan that maybe checks in 4 times a year, right? And there were definitely instances, and this happens, it happened every place I worked where like you would have to write that more broad story, the more like, hey, Penn State's in the playoff, like, what does this mean for James Franklin's legacy? And it's like the people who follow it day to day, they know exactly what it means, but you have to find that broad audience. Well, I don't have to do that now. I think I'm able to figure out more quickly what the audience wants, and I think we're also going to make it more interactive. There is a chat feature on the Substack app that I have not turned on yet, but I'm going to be turning it on very soon. And I think like even last week, I'm on the practice field, and I'm like, okay, there's the notes feature in this Substack app. Why would I tweet? Like, okay, you'll tweet a couple videos to keep people engaged there, but also like the best stuff is gonna go on Substack, right? Like it has to go on there for the people that are paying. So I'm standing on the practice field posting stuff in the Substack notes app, and I'm like, okay, this is me directly giving stuff to the fan, to the subscriber. So I think the interaction piece is gonna be a lot better. And that's what I always approach it in terms of like, what do I like as a sports fan? What kind of coverage do I want? And I always want to feel like I know the beat writer. That's just how I've always tried to approach this. And I think the platform, even though I didn't want to end up on there in the first place, the fact that I ended up on the platform has been really, really good. Because there are a lot of people already on there, and it's just an easier way to get right to the audience.
You talked about the kind of stories. I'm curious about pace, right? Like games are Saturdays, practices.
Hmm.
Do you have a sense of pace you want? I mean, because you want to kind of set the tone, it would feel like,
Hmm.
rather than react to the tone. So how much time did you spend thinking about like, okay, here's
A
what this
lot.
day of the week is, or this time of the year is, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. And that was honestly, that's been the hardest. The hardest part was getting this started, knowing that I just wrapped up my summer semester last night. So like I had final projects going on for school, and I'm like, okay, like this is gonna be like the last 2 weeks have been brutal. Um, but in my head, I wanted to launch with a story on James Franklin, which I turned into a Q&A, and I wanted to launch with a story on Drew Aller, which I was able to roll out, last week. Um, but like the thought process of what I want to do in season is very much obviously it's up to me, which is like wonderful and also terrifying. But in my head, like the biggest piece of this is if it's a noon game, Saturday night, I want to be emailing out, here's all my content, here's a fresh podcast with the Nittany Dispatch all in one place. Get that to inboxes either Saturday night or Sunday morning, because you have that window before the NFL starts on Sunday where you have to tap into the audience. So in my head, getting all of that in one place is going to be really important. And then when James Franklin talks on Monday, if there is something worth writing, we're going to write it, but I'm not just going to do a, hey, James Franklin talked today, so I'm going to write about it. And it's the same thing with practices. It's a little bit different in preseason because we see a little bit more. But, if I'm at 10, 15 minutes of practice, like sometimes there is not a lot that happens. And like, I'm not going to juice it up and say, hey, here are 10 observations when, I observed ball security drills or whatever. Like, so yeah, I mean, I think 3 to 4 pieces per week is the aim. Although in season, I'm sure it's probably going to be a higher volume than that. Um, but I mean, I'm excited to do some hockey features, do some women's volleyball features, do some wrestling features. Like I think one of the things I learned at the Athletic is, there are massive audiences and portions of this fan base that want different things. You've got the wrestling fan base that wants a lot of coverage, and I'm not going to do, match by match, but like you can do creative and feature stories that kind of feed that base too.
I asked about people finding you. What's it been like, or how much time have you spent in the mindset of pushing the stuff to people, right? It's
Hmm.
one thing to subscribers, but like social in terms of social media and tagging things, or trying to say, hey, here I am, here's my stuff? Like,
A
what have you thought about that, or how are you going to approach that?
For sure. I have some ideas in mind. Penn State always taps into the, hey, you've got the biggest, largest living alumni base. I need to get out in front of those people. Like that is my goal for this season. So like I've got a list literally next to me that's like a mile long of things I want to do and things I need to do, and connecting with some of these alumni chapters and say, hey, if you're doing a mixer the night before an away game, I'd love to come by. If you want to do a Q&A, whatever, I'm happy to do it. Like I'm going to be there. I'm going on the road, covering this team very much similarly to how I always have, but you have to get in front of as many people as you can. And that's a different challenge because, right? I mean, at some point, you saturate your Twitter audience or your Blue Sky audience. You have that, right? I am not an Instagram person, which is weird because I'm 35. I just never was there. So how do I connect with students? That's another kind of an interesting thing. And I think that's always been the cool thing with being in the classroom is you feel like you kind of have some inroads with students, and the platforms that they are on are not the ones that I am on. So am I gonna have to get on TikTok, right? Am I gonna have to get on Instagram? Maybe. Um, but I also want to be able to, I think there's the older audience too, which I'm fortunate in that living in state college, I have a lot of neighbors who are older. So one of the things is like I think about how do I tell them what it is that I'm doing, right? How do I explain to my parents what it is, what a subscription newsletter is? Like all those things you have to really break down. And this is where my master's is on digital and strategic communications. So while this isn't like a capstone project, it very much feels like it is because I've learned so much about email marketing and, measuring the analytics behind this stuff that it's going to be a really kind of fascinating time just to put it all together and see what happens.
You've been on the job for, we'll call it a month now. What's the best part about being your own boss?
Man, it's the freedom. I mean, for example, like yesterday, my goal, I wanted to have a newsletter out Monday morning, and I just realized last night, like this project I had to get done was taking way too much time, and I totally grossly underestimated how long it would take me. Um, and so it got to like 10 o'clock, and I was like, you know what? I am not doing this. Like, I can't get this done tonight. It's gonna be crap if I do it anyway. Let me give it a few more days. I can do it next Monday. It'll still be totally fine. So just having that freedom to pivot and adjust and really just the time to think. I mean, that's been the benefit of the 4 months out of work is that I just had time to totally step back and say, okay, what do I want to do? What interests me? What excites me? And that, I mean, and you guys, I'm sure feel this. It's like you go to school, you get a job, you keep doing that job, and then you're like, oh my God, I graduated in 2012 and it's been a minute. Like, what do I actually want to do? So yeah, it's the freedom's been great, but it's also been like, too, you have to be smart and strategic. So I'm looking at my travel and it's like, okay, do I want to tie in an extra story on this trip to UCLA because, you've got the quarterback commit out there, and do I or don't I? Well, I don't have to pitch anybody on that. If I want to do it, I'm doing it, So that's like really the fun part of it.
I'm curious on the front end of when in April or now when stuff's launched. Has there been someone you were surprised to hear from, like that said, "Oh God, we're gonna miss you," or "Hey, glad to have you back"? Like, I mean, you talked about the
Yeah.
folks at the sheets, but has there been somebody who's like, "Huh, that's okay"?
Yeah, I mean, so many of the fans that again, I just was not sure how some portion of the fan base would take it. I will say too, this beat, and I don't think fans of the team necessarily always see it or understand it, but there are so many incredibly kind and supportive people on this beat, and that showed up tenfold for me in April. For example, the day after I got let go, Tyler Donahue, 247, he's probably going to hate that I tell you guys this, shows up at my door with donuts. And
That's
he's
awesome.
like, this sucks. We're going to help you get through this. like insanely nice guy. And Tyler and I were together for a hot second at Atlanta 10 when they went under. And so, he had me over to his house for dinner, shortly after that too. John Sauber has been like a podcast co-host and a therapist throughout all of this. Like there's so many good people on this beat. And I mean, the thing is, and I think this is why a lot of people probably just assumed I'd still be here in some capacity, because I kept showing up in the spring to like availabilities, partially because like, one, I was like, okay, I need to get out of the house. But two, like, if I'm going to cover this next year, like, there's things I can learn and better grasp now than I can in the future. And so I show up to a practice. Gosh, I was like on a Friday, and I think it was maybe like a Tuesday or Wednesday. I show up, and Steve Jones comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, like we're sorry, but whatever happens, like we're rooting for you." I mean, though, like there's so many good people in this community that like I don't know if fans always recognize that. I put my interview requests in very early for the summer, when I was still at the Athletic, and Penn State approved them. And after like everything, I was like, hey, so I don't know what I'm going to do or where these stories are going to end up, but I'd like to keep my sit downs with James and Drew if I can. And they were like, yeah, no questions asked. So like sat down with both of them. They were super great. Like, I think those are the little things maybe that people don't realize, but like Penn State didn't have to do that, like they could have just said, yeah, no, you don't have an employer. You're not sitting down with our head coach. But, I sat down with James in May and it was great. And it was like a very normal conversation of, hey, like, let's talk about this season. But yeah, I mean, and even too, like, Neil Rudell was calling me every few weeks. Hey, what's going on? Checking in. Rich Scarcella, Mike Foreman. Foreman and I went to lunch several times. I mean, Mark Brennan, like there's so many people on this beat that are just really good humans that I think the average fan probably does not realize.
I think that came through too. I think you could see that.
Oh, Daniel Gallen. I can't not shout out
true.
Daniel Gallen, fellow Packers fan, and Johnny McGonigal.
I think that came through though when you announced, because like there are a lot of, as a fan, there are a lot of places where I am paying to get my Penn State coverage, and all of those other people that work at those places could have been like, well, it's another competitor in the race, so to speak. Yep. Like, why would I? And it was cool to see people retweet and share and be excited for you. I thought that was very neat to see. All right, the last question I have is when's the story about the statue coming? That's the main question.
You know what? I need to do that because, well, there was I don't want to say a draft. There was an idea list on my work computer. And, when they let you go, I mean, you lose access to everything like in an instant. So like my work email, which also like shout out to the Mizzou SID who had emailed me back in the spring about talking to Bo Prevula. That email I'd never got because it was in the work account. So apologies on that if they're still waiting for my reply to speak with Bo. But yeah, there was an idea list that I had on my computer that I was like, you know what? I need to like get whatever I can off this computer that I'm going to need. And I was reminded of that. And I will let you guys in on one of the secrets of it because it's funny because it's obviously not where it is. But a couple years ago, they were putting like a new statue up outside of the library.
Yes.
And I was going to the archives to do research for like some kind of Big Ten story. And I remember showing up to the library and I'm like, oh my God, like there's like a big box out front. Like this could be it. And it's the middle of summer. So I'm like, this is the perfect time to do it. Like there aren't many eyes around here. Like I'm probably one of 5 people in the library. And I remember trying to like go up to look over it to see like what was behind it. And then, yeah, it was not it. But I was so pumped for at least like a good 10 minutes that I was like, oh my God, I think this is it. Cause like it checks a lot of boxes, right?
Yes,
it makes sense. I mean, again, you can't tell me with the whole stadium renovation going on that if you have a massive statue and it's in the stadium that like, it's just like no one has seen it during a renovation.
Yeah.
Like as you're tearing things down. It wasn't
in the press box. You can confirm that.
Can confirm that it was not in the press box. But yeah, I mean, I do want to get to that. There's some other kind of fun and quirky off the wall stories. Like I thought one of the most fun stories that came out of last year was the USC, the Penn State fan who ran out of the tunnel
Yeah.
at USC and trolled them. Like,
You're welcome for that.
yeah, yeah, that was great. Yeah, because I think it was on Instagram,
Yeah,
and then like
I
it
made
was
that
all
guy. I
over,
made that guy
and
pretty famous. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was like those are the kinds of stories I like. I mean, those. There's another good one. I'll put it out there if anyone's listening because I'm gonna start soliciting for it probably this week. I want to try and find as many of the Beaver Stadium auction items as I can. I want to know where they ended up, right? Like if you bought the big B from Beaver Stadium, where is it? Like where is it at in your house, in your man cave, in your garage? Like I want to try and find a way to figure out like where some of these things ended up.
I love this. This is exactly why I subscribed. You know, this is
These are the weird things that yeah.
this is exactly why I subscribed. All right, it's called Inside the Lions. Where can people find that? Your podcast with John, all of your good stuff.
Yep. Inside the Lions, one word, .substack.com. That's where all my written content would be. The podcast is the Nittany Dispatch. We are everywhere where you consume your podcast, but I also have a link to it off of Substack. Yes, it is a subscription-based publication. Subscriptions range from $8 a month to $65 a year. You can also become a founding member for $120 for a year, and there have been a lot of founding members that have blown me away. That's been, again, another crazy part of this whole thing. But yeah, that's where my written work will continue to be. You can find me on X, I guess it is, at Aud Snyder 4. I'm also on Blue Sky if you search Audrey Snyder. So anywhere on the internet, maybe you'll find me on Instagram. Maybe I'll end up on TikTok too. Who knows?
Thank you very much, Audrey.
Cool.
Steve, I thoroughly appreciated Audrey's honesty there. I think she was very transparent on how the last 4 or so months have gone for her, and I appreciated that because I think that was, I think I don't know that we would have gotten her to say it, but I do think this is a considerable off-season storyline for Penn State fans. I legitimately mean that. Like people were like, "Where am I going to get Audrey content from?" And I think that was one of the interesting parts of this offseason, one of the things that was on our minds. And I am very excited. And truth be told, she sent the tweet, and I think within 30 seconds I subscribed because I think we talked about this before. Her voice and her ideas, and you heard it there. Like it's creative and refreshing in a way that you feel more knowledgeable as a fan, as you always say. Does it serve the fan? And yes, she does A1 prime job of that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's a connection with the fans, and fans are interested in where she ends up because she does think about serving them, thinking about doing something a little different. You know, she talked about her plan for the season. Oh, okay, just because there's a news conference on a Monday, does that mean I'm going to say, hey, here's what happened? You know, and there are places people can get that if they want it. But if they want something a little more thoughtful, a little more in depth, something now that's been seasoned with a decade plus of her covering it, they know where to find her as well. And there are several of those people on the beat who I think reaction would be somewhat similar to. But again, as you started with the introduction, you know, we are the exclusive location for your media survey of covering Penn State football. And she's been at the top of the list the past couple of years. So people know what they're getting and like what they're getting from her. So I'm glad there's a place for people to find her and for her to do what she wants.
And I think it's and she kind of talked about it and alluded to it there. I think it is a good reminder of the importance of the beat for Penn State fans because they are an important vessel that, and I know we've said this 100 times now that every time, I feel like we say this every time we have a beat writer on, but like at times they're an underappreciated vessel of the connection we share with the team. And I think that's something that's important as a fan. And one of the reasons why we love to talk about it, because it's just, we wouldn't enjoy this as much without the beat. And I think that came through there. No, I'm really excited to see, because as Audrey and I were talking about, like she sets her own schedule. She sets her own content calendar. Like we talked about that, her and I, really when she was leading up to the launch, and she's like, I think I want to do this. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think you would own that because I think she's just got a good mind for it. And I think I'm excited to see how this goes. for this first season here.
No, I was dragging my feet. Well, not dragging my feet. I just hadn't got around to it. Signed up while we were talking to her. Not doing Roy Plus, so doing this. So there you go. And actually, I didn't drop The Athletic because I like their sports media stuff and some of their other national college football. So it's kind of a yes and. But you got a subscriber during this section, and if you're listening now and haven't, go check it out, and maybe you should subscribe too.
Yeah, definitely. All right. You want to talk ticket semantics? Ticket.
I heard someone in the state college area media who has covered Penn State for a long time, and I forget the word that was used, so I don't want to throw them under the bus, but they talked about it being the most Penn State, Oregon being the hardest ticket to get in a long time this fall. Like it might be just the hardest ticket to get. And I don't know if that's true. It might be one of the more expensive tickets to get, but if you have money, you're going to be able to get one. It's not like, I don't know. I guess I was thinking, when was the last time somebody wanted a ticket for the game and just couldn't get it? Like, it's not that it's not available. It's not available at a price point.
Do you know what game comes to mind? And because I don't know where I fall on this, because I can understand all sides of the argument, but you know what game comes to mind? 2002 Nebraska. That is one of the first Penn State football games I ever remember. Like as a kid, I was probably 8 then. Or was I 6? I was 8. I can't do math. I remember that the hype leading into that game. So I think that would be one. I do feel like it seems like this ticket, to your point, is more expensive, or it doesn't seem like it's going to be a cheap ticket. I do. Yeah,
you're not getting it cheap.
Yeah, and I do think that has been noticeable just from some conversations I've had with friends that, like, hey, I have an extra or two, and instead of charging the regular 150, they're charging the 250 or something a little bit higher. I did see a screenshot of some that went for, I think it was 4 that went for $2,000 total, which is just, yeah. So I don't know, like what I don't know that it's the hardest. I think, but I do think it's up there within the last 10 years of bigger game tickets to have.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And maybe I'm being too hard about the semantics of it. I think in terms of anticipation for a game, because you're going through those first 3, whatever they are, and I'll write about that this week for the blog, of waiting for football season to begin. Yeah, and it's Oregon, right? Like there's just all that cachet, all that build up, whether it's the Big Ten championship game from last year, Oregon's history on TV, and just something to see, the whiteout, all that stuff. It's going to be, it's the game of the season. So, yeah.
I think it's the whiteout. I think this is the first time in 6 years, the 2019 whiteout, which was the Michigan whiteout. I remember that game having a pretty big buzz. The was it 2019? No, it was 2017. So that was 6 years ago, 7 years ago now. And
it's got a longer runway in some ways, right? Because we know the whiteout game time more than, say, Auburn a couple years ago or something else. You know now it's going to be a night game. There's a buzz attached to it that wasn't to some other years, because we're waiting to know what time the game was going to be, when it was, that kind of thing, especially last year, right? Yeah. It was just forever till they knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. That Auburn game was up there. I remember that game being up there in terms of, because that was a different opponent. And I think it was either the year before or the year after that the Minnesota whiteout was, and nobody was like excited about that at all.
Right.
So, okay. Next one. What's the next thing on our agenda? Do you remember?
You told me tailgate boxes.
Oh, so yeah. I want to know. I was thinking about this. You're driving this week. I told you I'm feeling a little sick. I want to know. Like you guys have a tailgate bin, right? Like you guys use
couple
of them. Okay.
Yep.
What are some, like, besides like a spatula and some tongs? What are some unique things?
Those have been forgotten through the years, I guess. Well, so there's I'll probably stock up this weekend, right? So there's paper products, there's plates, cups, whatever else, salt and pepper, plastic bags, Ziploc bags. Thank you to the neighbor guy who showed up last year, who took the plastic coat hanger and cut the middle out of it and then stuck the paper towel roll on the paper towel hanger and can pull that down. Thank you for that hack, because I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. So if we don't have something current, it's my fault. And we've had paper towel rolls and dispensers, but that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Garbage bags. There'll be a run at some point for the blue bags and the clear bags. We have them, so they're all ready to go. We have our sign. We have the sign-in book, right?
Oh,
with all
right.
the
You guys have
accoutrement
that.
that
Yes.
goes with that, and
Yes.
to decorate that table. There's, I don't know, there's another whole separate bag of stuff for drinks and whatever else. So, I mean, it's mostly the hardware necessary and the pots and pans, right? Like it depends on the week, right? Like it depends on what we're doing. But I've tried to thin out last year to get down to, we had the one box for almost 10 years, right? And it was showing its age. So we went to like a clear box this year so I can see what's in it. Last year we went to clear box, can see what's in it while we're doing it. It stacks better. And then of course Russ has his stuff. So it's kind of a cool little tag team of stuff. And it's, I mean, I don't like setting up with people. I like to do it myself. So, but like when Russ shows up, I know what's coming. Like I know, oh, we got this. And like if he would make just one visit from one trek from his car to our spot, I'd be like, well, where's everything else? Like, when did we become efficient? like we always aspire to efficiency, but we don't sometimes get there. So there's a little bit of everything, I guess.
Okay.
There's beans from the chili cook-off in there that we vote for each year. There's bungee cords in there for the sign. There's probably a radio in there that we'll may or may not use. Yeah.
I was thinking
Anything what did I not mention that you guys got?
So we
besides the Capri Suns.
Well, Capri Suns, of course. Those get usually are in a bag. The one thing that we've learned that was discovered to us was you take a bungee cord and put it through the paper towel roll, and then you hook it on to the top of your canopy.
Yep.
And do it that way.
I said yep, and we never haven't done that. But
no,
yes,
but
yes,
you understood the logic. You did not mention shut the box. That has become a must of our our tailgate, which is again I know we've talked about that 400 times now on this podcast, but that one's big. We have, I think it's important you always have extra cups and plates. You never want to run out of those. Mm-hmm. Sunscreen and bug spray has become big for us, particularly in the earlier games of the year. Because you don't want to get fried. Trying to think what else is in there right now.
Yeah, bug spray for the bees a couple of years was an issue, right? Like because those late season bugs show up. But they do a great job. Terry does a great job with there's a little felt football field that we set out by the sign-in cord, right? Or the sign-in books. There's a helmet for the opposing team and the helmet for Penn State, and there's set up a little field there. So we're blessed with some elbow room, and we try to make the most of it. And we've changed the layout a couple times, but like the one core layout works for like where the kitchen's at and where we do some stuff. So it's been good. Okay. And I think that's most of the stuff in the boxes. I mean, there's probably a random Penn State tchotchke or something in there. Sharpies are in there somewhere for Lord knows who.
That's a good one. I never really thought about that.
The lighter thingies, right? There's probably more than enough lighter thingies in there.
Yeah.
That's their proper name, lighter thingies. So yeah.
I'm trying to think what else.
Koozies, probably there's some koozies and stuff like that are kind of random things in there.
That's been I have become so amongst. I think in Sam maybe did this because I think I have one of Sam's, but amongst our tailgate friend group, a lot of us did as we got married did koozies over the years, and so like there's usually like it's just like whose wedding is are we drinking from basically this week. The one thing that Anna and I have done. We bought nice koozies that are like the metal ones, and those are ours. Right.
We have our cooler. They come with me and my cooler, right?
Yeah. So those have become big. You guys have the chili cook-off. That's your big one every year. Do you guys? Is there any other food staples that you have in tailgate?
We've learned that breakfast sandwiches are a hit, and they work easily because Russ has an oven, like a propane oven.
I forgot about that. Yep.
So we can assemble the night before, we can assemble on site, but those are no fuss, no muss. The breakfast sandwiches have been a big hit and less worried about oil and so much frying. I mean, we still do bacon, but those have been a hit. What'll be on the menu this year? Walking tacos are easy, right? Like we've learned that the walking taco is easy. Pot of stuff, some traps in the bags of stuff. That's an easy one. We'll do the chili cook-off. We'll probably do another breakfast for a noon game. Late season game usually means like a Super Bowl type thing or a soup selection. Everybody brings a pot of something and you're just heating up soup and it keeps it clean. we've gone through phases where it was deep fry day. That's kind of a pain.
That's
Like
a
we
lot.
had too many stories with the deep fry stuff. Like there's the flame that was not higher than the canopy, even though the oil was under the canopy and the turkey was a little moist. And honestly, the flames were higher than the canopy. I don't know how it didn't ignite. And we were like, yeah, the flames weren't higher than the canopy. And then we adjusted and gotten a smaller pot to just do wings, just oil for wings.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't turn the oil off after you've cooked the wings is that the oil itself will ignite.
Yeah.
And it makes a whoosh
Uh-huh.
sound. So we've had that tailgate.
Okay.
So we've kind of moved away from the oil a little bit.
There was one tailgate where my grill caught on fire. My grill did catch on fire. It wasn't too bad. We were able to salvage the grill. It lasted several other fires. The one thing we've become accustomed to is finger foods. Like we're big on the like fried, like not, but like we just throw them on the grill. So we do mozzarella sticks and the mini pierogies, not the big pierogies. They have these mini pierogies now. Mrs. T makes.
Yeah, those would be good.
Yeah, because it's just nice to have options. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I think I know what's in Steve's tailgate, but I don't know if there is anything that makes your tailgate vastly superior. But it sounds like there is. So
it's what's in, what's afterward. What's after a game is frustrating, right? When people bring stuff, right, and you're like, we gotta take it all home, right? You know, and you got like 6 varieties of chips or the leftover salad of like that shouldn't have been out in the sun that long to begin with. But again, first world problem.
Our garage fridge is usually by about week 7 the United Nations of beer.
Yes. Well, in my world, seltzer that I'm never going to drink that I've got to pawn off on some college kid somewhere, and we don't have any more college kids left.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got to find younger people who are going to drink the seltzery stuff.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well, we can take care of that.
We're good.
Yeah. All right. That's all of that stuff. Old guy, young guy.
I have a question. We were going to talk county fairs, but I have a koozie admission that you unfortunately might find entertaining.
Hopefully.
And it pertains to the koozies. You talked about koozies in your tailgate box, right? So I at Sam's wedding, right? I went into the reception a couple years ago, and all the little koozies are at the table, right? Like the celebratory Perkins, and here's the date, right? And I guess it had been a day and the things hadn't even happened yet, but I'm going into the upper part of the barn where the reception is. I'm looking at the tables and I'm like, okay, where does our family sit? Because these all say Perkins. Like, why are they all Perkins? And it took me a second to realize that my daughter's name was now going to be Perkins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kind of an old guy, kind of a preemptive old guy.
Yeah.
Old guy, young guy, county fairs. Do you go? Have you been?
Wait,
That was a big transition. You didn't like the koozie story.
That's a hell of a segue.
You were like,
again, this is why
you're just a dumbass.
Yeah,
this
is why I'm not letting you run the podcast ever again.
Well, you're sorry.
Yeah.
Now the official old guy, young guy segment with county fairs.
It took you that long to figure out that was not where you were sitting. That's what you're telling me here.
Everybody was getting a Perkins one. Yes, it took me that long to figure out that there were no Samsel koozies at my daughter's wedding because, of course, she was getting married to Garrett Perkins. So yes, not a shining moment on a hill. I'm sorry, no.
You have good ideas, and then you have other ideas. County fairs. Let's go with that idea. Do we go to them? That was not a thing that we went to. We went to, what we went to growing up? We went to the church fairs, the church, like I feel like all the Catholic churches in Altoona do like a street fair, like a little bit smaller than a county fair. Usually doesn't have a ride. We did that. Then we moved down to Frederick, and they have an actual county fair that we go to with various farm animals and equipment.
Is that the Great Frederick Fair?
Yeah, that is the Great Frederick Fair. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I would put it akin to a smaller PA farm show, but similar vibes. Good food, a lot of unhealthy food.
Yeah, everything's fried.
Yeah. Well, because you asking this because Ag Progress Days are happening this week, right?
Ag Progress Days and the Grange Fair is happening.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. I always forget they're at the same time.
The Grange Fair is like, I grew up in like Cumming County Fair, quality county fair, solid, food, rides, demolition derby, animals that they're putting on display. when we were in Westmoreland County, also a good county fair in Western Pennsylvania, traditional kind of stuff, that kind of thing. We've been to Clearfield, like to their fair, same kind of deal.
Usually a lot of big concerts at that one.
Big concerts there. We went there last year to see Riley Green, maybe. But same deal, like fried food animals. The Grange Fair we've been there, I don't know, almost every year since we moved here. But different because people actually live there, right? Like it's a different animal. So yeah, I just didn't, I can't, if you could guarantee me 50-degree weather at night when I was sleeping, I would maybe sleep at the Grange Fair. But like canvas tent, well, I guess people have trailers, right? And those are air conditioned. But like the old school people who the tents are passed down, like season tickets through the wills and whatever else, years and years and years. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But cool event.
No, like I said, I don't really think Blair County has a county fair. I don't think it does. But but the Frederick Fair has been a lot of fun. I appreciate the fact that like the food is the main priority at the Frederick County Fair. That has been one of the,
I think that's the case at all of them, really.
So, all right. Well, yeah, we're like a month away from the one in Frederick. A little bit longer than that, I think. All right. That's this week's podcast. That's this week's episode. Thanks to Audrey for hanging out with us, joining us. Steve's got something coming this week. I promised you stuff this week, and I will fulfill that promise. When will I fulfill that promise? Probably Thursday. The whole congestion thing has backed up my ability to work efficiently and effectively for this media here, her media empire. I think it will be 3 designs this year, which we've usually done 4. Now the trade-off is I think I have found a way. I'm going to say I think because I can't confirm it yet. I need to double check everything. There have been some requested items over the years that we have not been able to get to people, particularly one that is very important for game days, particularly for women. I think we will be able to get that product for you this season. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I think feel 75 to 95% confidence.
Piquing some interest there. Way to go. Good job.
So there's that. Defensive preview on the blog, probably Thursday as well. No, not that will be also definitely Thursday. I don't know. I might write something else this week too. We'll see. Might pick up a topic we discussed last week and put that into blog format.
Okay.
What else are we missing? No,
they got to know where to find us so they can get all this.
Well,
stuff.
yeah, there's that. But we got it next week. We'll get a lot of stuff to get you ready for the season, and then the following week, it sounds like we have to confirm this after the show, but we will have our season kickoff extravaganza show the week going into the season, which will include all of our predictions, etc. And we will also have all of the usual stuff that you need to get through game day. But might be a little later because I happen to schedule a very important concert to go to that Monday that Steve still has never heard of this band. He's like, oh, nope, never. Not even
but
one.
As long as you're enjoying yourself, that's all that matters.
I'm surprised that you've not heard of them. That's all I'm going to say. You've definitely heard their song and didn't realize it.
That's what I'm understanding.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you can find out
the brothers are back together. They're brothers, right?
They're brothers. Yes.
Okay.
They're from England. Anyways, dogs are barking. They're telling me to shut up. You can find all of that stuff on stuffsummersays.com, and on that website there's a section called With
Steve.
We have emails. Mine's Darian at stuffsummersays.com. Steve's is
Steve at stuffsummersays.com.
Perfect. 5 stars, thumbs up. Appreciate all of that. I think that's everything except for you can find me on the internet at Stuff Summer Says. You can find Steve
At Steve Samsel.
See ya. Bye.